Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this discussion between Mr. Chaim Ben Pesach, who is an extreme right-winged Jew, and Saeed Aziz, who is a Palestinian, originally from the West Bank and presently living in California. And by the way, Chaim Ben Pesach is living in New York, and myself, Michael Bloom, an Israeli Jew living in Israel. Happy to have this discussion with you guys. So why don't we start with Saeed? If you don't mind just explaining about the history of your family, how did they end up in the West Bank?
As I told you before, we are a dignitarian family from a little town called Al-Mizra al-Sharqiyya, a nickname Miami of the West Bank. This little town been there for over 1,000 of years, and we inherited from, generation to another generation. We go back and forth. We make our money here, whatever extra we make, we invest it back home. So we are immigrant in America, and we are Palestinians in the same time.
I see. Okay, but I was more interested in you said 1,000 years. Your village has been there for 1,000 years?
Yes. Over 1,000 years from what I see.
So I see Chaim is smiling. Chaim, what do you think about what Saeed just said?
Well, first of all, you said, Michael, that I'm an extreme right-wing Jew. I'm not an extreme right-wing Jew. There's nothing extreme about what I'm saying. In fact, my positions are actually quite moderate, because I only advocate moving those who want to exterminate us out of Israel. I don't advocate slaughtering people, which is what the Arab Muslim Nazis want to do to the Jews. That's number one. And what they've promised to do to the Jews for 150 years, and what their religion teaches them to do to the Jews. Secondly, there is no West Bank. There's Yehuda v'Shomron, Judea and Samaria. The term West Bank has no validity. West Bank is just the immediate area near the Jordan River. Judea and Samaria is the biblical land of Israel. It's been known as Judea and Samaria for thousands of years, and we really were there thousands of years ago. And the third point, there is no Palestinian people and there is no Palestine. There has never been a Palestinian people in history. The term Palestine, Palestina, was created by the Roman Emperor Hadrian. It is a Latin term by the Roman conquerors who had no right to the land of Israel. They imposed that, and they named it after the ancient Plishtim, after the ancient Philistines. There is no validity to that. There were very, very few Arabs in the land of Israel 150 years ago. The Arabs came to the land of Israel mostly from Egypt, and I know because my family lived in Egypt for hundreds of years. The Arabs came to the land of Israel 150 years ago after the Jews came, because they saw economic opportunities working for the Jews there. That's why they came. They immigrated there. But there was never a Palestinian people or Palestine at any time in history. There was never a Palestinian state. And not only that, when I was a little boy, I'm 67 years old. When I was a little boy, 60 years ago, the Arabs themselves always said, there's no such thing as a Palestinian people. Don't call us Palestinians. We are not Palestinians. There's no such thing as Palestinian people. They always said that. Even at the United Nations, all the Arab leaders said that. Okay. And so there is... This term is completely false. The land of Israel belongs to the Jewish people.
Okay, so we'll get to that in a moment. Saeed, would you like, there's so many things, so many issues raised by Chaim. Is there a particular one you'd like to address first?
Yeah, of course. I like to ask Chaim, I like to answer Chaim and tell him, Mr. Chaim, that's where is the extreme start from. This is where is the teaching that it does not make any sense, and it's all based of your own imagination. What I'm going to tell you about your state, I'd like to ask you a question. Prior to David Ben-Gurion as the first prime minister of the state of the Rothschild, tell me who is the ruler or the leader or the king of the Israel, of what you call Israel. As a matter of fact, Israel is not a state. Israel is the name of a prophet. Israel was promised by the British to the Rothschild. It was not a promise from God. It was a promise from the British to the Rothschild. And by the way, I'll ask you a question. You have 70 ethnicity with 70 language living in this state. I like to ask you how you connect yourself to the Torah and to the history of Jewish. What you need to understand, sir, whether you want to call it Palestine as a state or Palestine as a region, it was called Levant. We are a district in Levant. We are Aramic. If you want to call this a state, if you don't want to call this state, how you call yourself a state where you bring in 70 ethnicity, 70 language from all over the world, and how you can connect the 950 years of the Khazar Empire who totally converted to Judaism and have nothing to do with the history of Judaism to the history of the Bible. What you need to understand here, and what I can show you my part of understanding your theory of owning the land, that you, as Ashkenaz, Khazar, who emigrated from Russia and all over Europe, have no connection with the history of the Bible. You hijack the history of the Bible and you have nothing to do with it.
First of all, the Arabs that live in Israel are, almost all of them are, the vast majority of them are Egyptians. They came from Egypt. They're not, Yasser Arafat was Egyptian, Ahmed Tibi was Egyptian, is Egyptian. I mean, almost all of them were Egyptians. And they are trespassing in the land of Israel. Why do I say trespassing? Because of their hostility to the Jewish people and the desire to take over the land and destroy Israel.
Arabs did emigrate to the land of known as Israel?
We are mixed with Arabs, but the original native people, they are Levantines.
Okay, so when did that immigration start? How long has this immigration been going on for?
After the Islam became Islam.
So what, like 1,000 years? 1,000 years? 500 years?
1,300 years.
1,300, exactly. So you're saying, yeah, we did migrate to Israel, but it's been going on for over 1,000 years now. Okay,
yeah, but the land before the Muslims or anybody else came, even before Abraham, father Abraham came to that country, it was people living in.
I understand. That's another question. So now that's the first thing. So Chaim, so instead of just going back and forth, Chaim claims that the Arabs only arrived 150 years ago. You are saying it's been going on for over 1,000 years. Great. There's no point to keep talking about this.
We're not all Arab, Michael. We're not all Arab. Arab is part of our communities, but the majority of the Palestinians are mixed from everything else. We have some Romans in us. We have some Greek in us. We have Levantines in us. We have Canaanite in us. Palestinians in us. We have to go to science and check every citizen of that country.
Yeah. And the Jews as well. I mean, look at me. I'm a white Jew, and you have brown Jews, and you have even, you have the Chinese-looking Jews, and the Jews also mixed, not just the Arabs.
For him to prove his claim that we have to go to each one of us, their side and our side, and check our ancestry and see how far we can go and who belongs there or not.
Well, that's only if you have a problem with other nations living together with you. So anyway, that was the first point. Chaim, I forgot the second point you brought up. Can you remind me?
Well, before we get to that, I have to respond because the claim here is, the question here is made, the claim is made that the Jewish people don't exist. That the Jewish people...
I never said that.
You said the Ashkenazi Jews are Khazars, you said.
Yes, that was another point.
They are converts.
That's an old Nazi propaganda line, that the Jews are not...
Now I'm Nazi.
What the Nazis said. Nazi? This is what the Nazis said. This is what the Nazis said. This is what Hitler and the Nazis said. Now, as far as the Bible, as our claim to the land of Israel, our deed is the Bible, is the Torah. And the Torah and the Bible clearly say that the land of Israel belongs to the Jewish people as an eternal inheritance. Brit Olam, it says, which is an eternal inheritance. This is what it says in the Bible. The land of Israel extends from the Nile to the Euphrates. That's the real land of Israel. That's the land that eventually, that Hashem, that God eventually is going to give us. We're going to eventually liberate all the land of Israel from the Nile to the Euphrates. That will happen. The rest of what Saeed said is just fantasy. I mean, this is just, and it's also taqiyya. Taqiyya is something that Muhammad commanded the Muslims to engage in with the infidels. Taqiyya means deception. The Muslims are required to lie and deceive as part of their war against the infidels.
Islam is a peaceful religion, Abrahamic religion. He admired Jewish and admired Christianity as equal. He admired the Islamic prophets. The Islam, actually, Mr. Hayim, he need to understand, the Jewish lived their golden ages under the Islamic rules.
How come ISIS have been doing what they're doing in the name of the Quran or the Islam, and Hamas and others? How do you explain that then?
ISIS is the creation of Mossad and the CIA. I don't agree with ISIS teaching, because ISIS translate religion based on their translation. If you read the Quran, there is no whatsoever ISIS claim. Quran is a peaceful religion. And if you want to go to Hadith and Taqiyya and Wahhabism and Ikhwan and Salafism, that's where is the problem. But as a Quran from the religion of Islam, there is no hate.
Okay, so Haim, I'm presuming it's true what Said is saying. Perhaps it's the same with the Jewish religion, where, I mean, why did Yigal Amir kill Yitzhak Rabin? He killed him in the name of the Jewish religion, Din Rodef. So we are as bad as they are.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And Islam is not a religion of peace at all. I urge people, by the way, to read the Quran. I urge people. I think Saeed wouldn't. Would you mind if people read the Quran? I think people should read the Quran. I'm in favor. I urge people to read the Quran and the Hadith.
Yes.
And by the way, Hadith is accepted by Muslims as a holy book that they have to follow. And the Quran and the Hadith very clearly spell out that there's Dar al-Islam. Dar al-Islam are all the areas of the world that are under Islamic control. And there's Dar al-Harb. All the areas of the world that are not under Islamic control are the areas of the harb, of the sword, of the war, because all the world has to be conquered for Islam. Islam has no respect for any other religion. Islam claims that Judaism and Christianity are lying religions. All the prophets, Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, all of our prophets, they claim they were all Muslims. The Muslims claim they take all of that and say, no, Moses was a Muslim. It's absurd. It's insanity. But this is what the claim is. And so what's being told here, again, this is part of taqiyya. This is part of the deception that Muslims are required to engage in. What Hamas and Islamic Jihad and all of these terrorist organizations are doing are exactly what Muhammad did. Muhammad did the same thing. Muhammad cut the heads off of
What
Jews.
about Said, Chaim? Do you think Said believes in everything you're saying now?
Yes.
So you think he wants to kill you?
Yes.
Do you want to kill Said? Do you want to kill Chaim?
I'm sure. I have no doubt.
Said, do you want to kill Chaim and me because I'm Jewish?
That will never happen, and it's not under my. I never think of even hating Jews to kill them. This is not the problem. The problem in Palestine is the problem with occupation. I'm just. It's not about religion, and I guarantee you, Michael, you will go to as much life you want with me. I bring as much different people from Palestinian society. They will tell you this guy is totally deception himself, doing deception for himself and for doing, because Islam never encouraged to kill Jewish. Islam is I never. First of all, he assumed that I am religious person. I'm not, and you know that, Michael. I told you before. I never been taught, or I never taught my kids actually, to go and hate or kill Jewish. We don't have a problem with Judaism as a religion. Our problem with this issue in the land, it's the occupation and what we not living equally to Mr. Chaim, who came from New York.
Right. So let's agree. Okay, let's move on. So let's now talk about the occupation. Okay. So the question is, Arabs have been living in this land for a while, be it 150 years or thousands of years. The fact of the matter is they've been here. And then in 1948, the Jews fought against the Arabs, and the Arabs lost the war, and they ended up refugees and living under occupation. The question is that, I'm asking myself as a secular Jew, is that fair? Is that fair? But another Jew, a religious Jew, will say to me, what do you mean fair? God, it's the promised land. The Bible says we need to rule this land. It's our land. So does that mean at the expense of people who have been living there before we conquered them? To me, it doesn't make sense, and it seems immoral to a degree, and I don't care what book says what in that respect. I see this as something which is wrong and should be changed, and I'm happy to live with Arabs personally from the river to the sea. Now, what do you think, Chaim? Would you come and visit me and Said in the country from the river to the sea, living in peace and harmony together? What,
you're calling for the destruction of Israel, Michael? Is that what you're calling?
Destruction of Israel.
Yes, you're calling for the destruction of the Jewish state.
Well, I would say the dismantling and the creation of a upgrading. I would say I'm calling for the upgrading of the Jewish state to a state which includes everyone that's already there.
That would lead to genocide against the Jewish people.
Why?
Let me just say, first of all, Michael, why don't you go, if you really believe the Arabs are so wonderful, why don't you go, you're living in Israel, go to Hebron, go to Tulkarem, go to these Arab cities and see what happens. You won't get out alive. I'll tell you that right now. But go there and see. Let's see how nice they are to you. But anyway, let me just say, prior to 1967, the 1967 war, the Arabs had Judea and Samaria. They had Gaza. They had Eastern Jerusalem. They had all the lands that they now say Israel should surrender. They had all of these lands. And yet no one called for the creation of a Palestinian state prior to 1967. No one. No one said that, well, Palestinian people, they have to have self-determination. How come nobody asked for this prior to 1967? Because there is no Palestinian people. All of this is a pretext. It's designed to get Israel to commit national suicide. And with you, Mikhail, they've succeeded. They brainwashed you into thinking it's okay to live in a state that they're going to control. Look at the Muslim world today. Just look at what happens, and the same thing will happen to the Jews in Israel if they have a chance. We've seen this, and we saw what happened on October 7th. What happens when Arabs have a chance to slaughter Jews, they're going to do it. And they slaughter. And by the way, when they're not slaughtering Jews, they're slaughtering each other. In the Iran-Iraq war, 2 million Muslims were murdered by other Muslims. And in Syria, 1 million Muslims were murdered by their fellow Muslims in the Syrian Muslim war. In Lebanon, 500,000 Muslims since the 1970s have been slaughtered by other Muslims. If this is what they do to each other, what do you think they would do to the hated Jews if they had Jews?
Okay, Said.
Chaim, this state you have since 1948, it has no border yet. This state you have from 1948, it have no constitution. This state you have from 1948, it's not even religion. You know why? Because 70 or 60% of your people does not follow the teaching of Judaism. You have gay marriages. You have people does not obey Sabbath. You have people who eat pork. In the Russian community, you have people who eat pork. So there is nothing Jewish about the Jewish other than what's in your mind. And for you to create and to just assume that I'm here to kill you and I will find any reason to kill you, you are totally misleading yourself. I feel bad for you that you think they'll say, we are here to stay. We've been here before your Rothschild, Zionist, Khazar state was created by the British and by the West. You and your entire majority of your people had hijacked the religion from the history of the Torah and claim that you. It's not you. There was, from the creation of the time of Palestine, or what do you want to call it, the Holy Land, there was multiple ethnicity lived there together. They fought, they killed each other, they made peace, and there is multiple things. The only problem right now is not your religion as a Jewish. It's what you claim and how you can make God as a real estate agent and choose to tell me that, you know what? God promised me with this, like the guy who did it in... This is the problem, my friend. God does not send you here to kill me. God does not send you here to eliminate me or to tell me that I am not equal to you. God told you to live with me because as equal, if the Jewish story is real, who came from Egypt and got lost in the Sinai desert for 4 years, if God chose you to leave, he chose me to receive. I am equally chosen by you. And if you want to tell me that you was there first, I'll tell you you are wrong. Go to archaeologists and check how old is Jericho. Jericho is 9,000 years old, 7,000 older than your entire religion existed. So it's not about religion, it's about equal right, it's about us to be human and have the right to live free between the river and the sea. You could worship your religion, I could worship mine. We're not there to kill each other. As equal as you live in New York with the Hindus and with every other nationality, we could have a constitution for us, all of us to live together and respect everybody right to live in his own land and in his own house.
Clear. Chaim, what is a solution? What would you, if you could just snap your fingers and your solution will be executed or will be adopted, what will that be?
Well, first of all, Mikhail, I have to respond. I have to respond to a lot of things were said. Saeed is openly calling for the destruction of Israel. And so are you, Michael, by the way, when you say that you want to live in a state from the river to the sea. You're calling for the destruction of Israel, the one Jewish state in the world.
The upgrade, the enrichment of it.
You're not calling for, no, you're calling for the destruction of Israel.
That's your interpretation, and I respect your interpretation.
And a big genocide for the
your
Jewish
interpretation.
People.
I respect your interpretation.
The Muslim, by the way, there are 57 Muslim countries in the world. 57. There's only one Jewish country. And they want to eliminate the one Jewish country. There are 22 Arab states, 22 Arab Muslim states, with 600 times as much territory as the Jews have. And the little land that the Jews have, they want to take away from the Jews. As far as Saeed saying my family came from Europe, my family came from Egypt and Morocco. Half the Jews in Israel came from Arab countries and Muslim countries, okay? In addition to that, and by the way, the European Jews have every right to live in Israel as well. This was their land. They were expelled from the land 2,000 years ago by the Romans. It was always their land, and that land remained desolate and uninhabited but until 150 years ago when the Zionist Jews came and started rebuilding the land. Now, Saeed says we can all live together in peace under Muslim rule. God forbid. What a nightmare that would be.
I said that.
He didn't say Muslim
we'll all
rule.
live together. We won't have a Jewish. You said you want to end from the river to the sea. You want to end the occupation.
He said you could practice Judaism, and whoever wants to practice Islam will practice Islam. But there will be a separation between religion and state. True, Saeed? Sure. Is that what you meant?
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Well, that's what he's saying. Yes.
In 1920, the Arabs already started massacring Jews. And there were slaughters of Jews in the land of Israel. In 1929, 67 Jewish men, women, and children. This is 22 years before the state of Israel existed. In 1929, and these were Sephardic Jews. These were not even European Jews. These were Sephardic Jews who spoke Arabic, by the way, who all were Arabic-speaking Jews. And these Jews were slaughtered by their Arab Muslim neighbors who put Jewish babies in ovens, who cut the heads off of Jewish women, who raped Jewish women and Jewish girls, who raped Jewish men, This happened in 1929 in Hebron. 67 Jews brutally murdered, 22 years before you had a Jewish state. And if Saeed has his way, and again, this is what would really happen, all the Jews in Israel will be slaughtered. All of them will be slaughtered. Arabs, let me quote what the Arabs themselves, by the way, in the UN, said in 1967. In 1967, they said in the UN before the Six-Day War that we're going to push the Jews into the sea. Arafat said we're going to push the Jews into the sea. The Arab leaders all said this. They said that the goal is to exterminate the Jewish people and push the Jews into the sea. All the Muslim clerics support the destruction.
Fine, let's move on. So, Chaim, what's the solution? If your solution is adopted, how will it manifest in reality? What would it be? Just 1 second, Saeed.
Saeed, and I'm very moderate. I'm a very moderate person. I'm saying that Saeed and his people, I'm not going to kill Saeed. I don't want to kill Saeed and his people, even though the Israeli army is capable of doing that if they wanted to. The Israeli army is very strong. They could do that if they wanted to. But I'm not interested in killing Saeed and his people. But because they are determined to destroy Israel and the Jewish people, and Saeed is openly calling for this on this program. He's openly saying the one Jewish state shouldn't exist anymore as a Jewish state. Because of that genocidal intention, they have to go somewhere else. They have to move somewhere else, and there has to be a program of transfer. And that's the only solution. That's the only, and by the way, Saeed is in California. It'll be a lot better. Saeed, your people will be a lot better off in California than they will be in Judea.
So what do you mean by...
If it's good for me to be in California, it's good for you to be in New York because you look like you are happy and you could exercise all these deceptions and lie and hate and make me say something that I never say. But listen, Michael, how to prove this gentleman is completely deceiving everybody, including himself. If you go to Morocco right now and he calls himself Moroccan, the Morocco's Jewish in every place in the world, they will tell you, we love the king of Morocco, we love Morocco, and we've been treated so good in Morocco, even though the Moroccan king 2 years ago made a new law to let Jewish comes back and claim their territories in Morocco. So don't come and tell me, when the Jewish goes and worship and kiss the shoes of the Moroccan king to tell him, thank you to allow us to come from Spain and from all this destruction happen in Europe. And you know what's funny about you? If you go to the history of Judaism, that if you are connected to it and you prove you belong to it, none of these massacres happened to Jewish have anything to do with Arab. From the time of the Egyptian, to the time of the Babylon, from the time of Russian, from the time of European, from the time of Spanish, from the time of Germany. None of these things. And it's so amazing how you want to turn this to be a religious war. And the religion itself, I'm not a scholar of religion, but I guarantee you what my religion teach me, that teach me you are the people of the book. You have history, but not you as a citizen from Morocco. I need to look at these Samaritan Jewish, Samara, who live today in Nablus, and they have been living with us from the time of Harun. They came to Palestine and they are carrying a Palestinian citizen. And you could go ask him right now, did you ever get prosecuted from your Muslim and Christian Palestinian? Look at Bethlehem. Look at every town. Look at the Nazra. The Palestinians proudly will tell you everywhere in the world that we as Jewish and Muslims and Christian live together. And let me tell you something one more time to prove to you that you are out of the history. You don't even belong to this time. Every protest in America right now who is going against the fascist government of Netanyahu and Ben Gvir and Smotrich, we have Jewish brothers and sisters come to support us and go out with us and carry our flag and call for the freedom Palestinian. My freedom is my right from God. I don't know if you believe in the same God that created human beings. I don't believe God created hate. It created discrimination. It created refugee crisis. Created 20,000 people got massacred from your government in the past 45 days. That's more than any Palestinian ever did it against Jewish. And I don't put words in my mouth because I never say I want to eliminate Jewish people. I love Jewish people. I want to live with them. We are the people of the book. We are the people of the area. The only thing that does not make sense is your extremist ideology who does not belong in our time. And I feel bad for people who listen to you, my friend.
Right. So, Chaim, how is this transfer going to actually physically take place? Here you have Saeed in front of you, whose family is now living in the West Bank. Let's run your idea by him, see his reaction. So, how will it happen?
Very simple. The vast majority of Arabs, by the way, want to leave. They want to leave.
But how will it happen? Say what? You'll contact all the Arabs and say, "Hi, do you want to leave?"
They want to leave, and yes, we would help them. We're just going to help them do what Saeed and his family did.
How will you do it?
We're going to we will find ways to assist them and find places where they can go. How did Saeed leave? How did millions of Arabs get into Europe? So it can be done. By the way, I just want to say, Ahmed Shukari, who was the head of the PLO in 1967. And then Saudi Arabia made him their ambassador, but he was the head of the PLO. He was supposed to be the spokesman for the Arabs in 1967, said at the United Nations in English that when the war is over, the 1967 war, not a single Jew will be left alive. We will push them into the sea and not a single Jew will be left alive.
Right.
The Mufti of Jerusalem was also the leader of the Arabs. He was the first leader of the Arabs in the land of Israel. He went to Germany, to Nazi Germany, was with Adolf Hitler, met with Adolf Hitler. People can look this up. Mufti of Jerusalem, Hitler. I urge people to Google this. He went to Germany, met with Hitler, toured Auschwitz and the Nazi concentration camps, toured the gas chambers and the ovens, and said that the Germans know how to take care of the Jews. This is what we have to do in the Middle East. And he's considered to be a great hero.
What do you think about the settlers? Should they be there or not? Should they leave?
The Jews who live in Judea and Samaria and their biblical land, of course they should be.
Them.
Of course they should be there. Of course, this is their land. This is our land. God gave us this land in the Bible. Anyone, any Jew or any Christian that reads the Bible understands what that says. Now, the Quran and the Hadith claim that our Bible is a lie. They claim the Jews and the Christians fabricated and it's all a lie. But Jews and Christians know that the land of Israel was given to the Jewish people by God. They know this. This is our land.
So you're fine with the settlers, right?
The Muslims have 57. They have 57 countries they can go to. We have only one little country, and they want to take that away from us.
But what do you? Okay, Saeed.
Nobody's taken that away from you because you don't even belong there. Ofra was created. Ofra.
What's Ofra?
You know what is Ofra?
What's Ofra? What is it?
It's a settlement next to Salwadan, my town. It was created. I saw the first house was built in that area. It's all immigrants. And you're going to tell me these settlers who just came from Ukraine, 12,000 settlers who came from Ukraine 6 months ago, they have the right to be there. And I am the native. I am the person who's been holding my land tree from Jesus' time, that I should be going to a Muslim country because I'm Muslim or because I'm an Arab, correct?
I'll tell you one thing you say, one thing that you're saying to us is you want me to go, you say that the Jews lived well under Morocco, under Egypt. My family didn't live well at all. They put the whole Jewish community in Egypt in prison and called them Zionist spies.
Saeed asked you a question just now, so now your question can be asked. So Saeed, do you condemn the Mufti?
First of all, listen, it was a World War II. It was massacres. It was war. Everybody died. Everybody was, you ally with this against this. And that was not in my time. I don't care what happened to the Mufti. I want to ask him back if he condemned the Mufti. I want to ask if he wants me to condemn the Mufti. Do you condemn a massacre of tens of thousands of Palestinians and kicking 700,000 Palestinians out of their town and wiping 400 villages and cities out of town? Do you condemn that?
It's all fantasy. None of that happened.
So exactly. So let's move on with these questions of who's condemning what.
Fantasy.
I'm not interested in condemning. It's irrelevant. Wow. It's an irrelevant question.
I disagree.
Do you condemn flying alligators? Do you condemn flying alligators? You don't. Well, that's it. That shows that you are against animals. Let's move on. Saeed, what do you think if the transfer is actually going to happen, and the Jews are going to, the Israeli state will approach all Arabs living in West Bank and say, look, we're willing to help you migrate? What would they say?
That will never happen. I could give you the best example that happened in the past month and a half. They massacred Gaza. They wiped the north of Gaza out of the map, maybe it's a fantasy too. And no Gazan wants to leave Gaza because you know what? There's not going to happen another refugee crisis. We are willing to be underground in our native land better than being in the sky in any other place. I choose to be here. I was not kicked out. And you know what is the best solution, brother? The best solution is I'll tell you something. This guy and nobody in his government can tell me what he want to do in that land. If United States of America decide today to switch, turn it off and turn it on, United States of America will do that. You have no call in this one. You're going to be accepting, whether you like it or not, one-state solution with equal right or two-state solution with confederation. There is no other way. You cannot get rid of me. I cannot get rid of you. You're going to live with me, whether you like it or not. Stop looking at so much hate. Look at what's common between us, what's common things are between us, how I can invest in this life and make it a different place without telling me your God and my God, because your God does not exist in my own philosophy and your book does not exist. I don't believe in any of these crazy books. I believe in equal right, human right, to live with this gentleman as a brother to me, to can come to my home and eat makluba and have no problem to leave because he's not an occupier. He's not coming with a gun. He's coming with a rose.
No, thank you. We don't want to. We don't want to live in a situation where Muslims will have the ability to slaughter us. We know from history what happens when that happens. And again, just look at Muslims. There's no peace anywhere where Muslims live. Where there's large Muslim communities, there's no peace. There's slaughter everywhere. Even in Pakistan, 3 million Bengali Muslims were massacred by Pakistani Muslims. Look at what they do to their own people. If this is what they do to their own people, you think they're joking when it says in the Quran that this is what you're supposed to do to the infidels? They will kill all of us. Bethlehem, by the way, was an all-Christian town. This was an all-Christian town. Now only 3% of Bethlehem is Christian. The Muslims got rid of all of them and use the 3% now as propaganda props. But the fact is the hatred, the intolerance. People know that the Jews are not a hateful and intolerant people. It's just not true. And in fact, the Jews, look at Michael. You think Michael, there are no Arabs that are like you. Okay? You are willing to go against your own people. You don't have Arabs like you. You don't have Arabs that are examples like you. This is only the craziness of Jews. And despite that, God miraculously has enabled us to survive against all odds. We were outnumbered 100-1 in the 1967 war, and we won in 6 days, and we quadrupled in size in 6 days. 10 of ye shall chase 1,000 of them, it says in the Bible, and 100 of ye shall put 10,000 of them to flight. And all of this is happening in our time. It's all being fulfilled. We're going to do what God intends to happen. Saeed, eventually your people are going to leave one way or another. It's the best for them as well. Believe me, Saeed, your people will be happier. In other countries, they'll be happier in other countries than they will in the Holy Land. Right. Believe me.
Clear. You know how, Chaim, you keep quoting what this leader said 100 years ago, and that leader said, and these people did somewhere back in history. I mean, the Muslims did this and that. Well, I could then say, well, you should be terrified of flying to Germany, visiting Germany, because look what the Germans did. So obviously it means all Germans today are like Hitler. So you wouldn't show your face anywhere on the streets of Germany and many other places where that were violent in the past. But you do. But when it comes to Muslims, you seem to believe that all the past is what's dictating the present.
First of all, if God always been with you, tell me. Let's read about the history of Jews. Every massacre happened to you. Where is God used to be? Why God was not with you in Egypt? Why God was not with you in Babylon? Why God was with you in Germany? Why God was not with you with Spain? Everything happened to you. God should be with you. Only today, you want to come and tell me, God is with me and he said, tell them and did this to them. We never harm you, and Islam never harm you. If these minor things happen and there, even us as Palestinian, we have Palestinian bad people can harm me too, because I'm speaking to you today. Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, United Arab Emirates, Morocco, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Egypt, Bahrain. You are begging the Saudi to be your friends. If they are your enemy today, why you are begging embassy to be your partner in peace and make big Middle East big and big? And by the way, Christian Palestinians, half a million, you know, Michael, I would love to invite you to Chile one day. 500,000 Christian Palestinians live in Chile, and you know what is their national team? Palestina. These Christian, he claimed, and he lies to say that they was kicked out of Palestine because of the Muslim. No, my friend Chaim, it was kicked from your Khazarian occupation. You know what? It's bad. I never read the Torah, but I know you are reading Talmud, and you're not reading anything from the Torah, because Torah told you, don't steal, don't kill, don't do this. You are begging the Arab to be your friends and your partner, so you don't contradict yourself. And you know who you accuse today of all these massacres of Gaza? Accuse Netanyahu, who allowed hundreds of millions of dollars to fly from Qatar to Ben Gurion and was escorted to give to Hamas. Your government is created Hamas. Your government supported to Hamas to be strong this much, and your government does not want peace. They want to keep supporting terrorism, so you can be winning and you can prove your point is true.
Chaim, how can Israel eliminate the Hamas, if at all?
Well, first of all, let me just say, because Saeed claims that I'm begging the Saudis to be my friends. There are Jews who are doing that, not me. I don't want the Saudis to be my friends.
How can the Hamas be eliminated?
Okay. Hamas cannot be eliminated. It cannot be eliminated because Hamas is Islam. Hamas is Islam. That is true Islam. What they did when they cut off the heads of Jewish babies, when they burned Jewish families on October 7th, when they raped little Jewish girls and raped Jewish men and raped Jewish girls. When they did this, they were doing what Muhammad did. Muhammad did the same thing in the Quran and the Hadith. So this is authentic Islam. This is true Islam, and this is what will happen to all Muslims. And by the way, Saeed doesn't discriminate. He's not just against Jews. Muslims are not just against Jews. They hate all non-Muslims. They hate all non-Muslims. All non-Muslims are infidels.
Michael.
Okay? All of them are. And the whole world, read the Quran.
Okay, we've been there. You've already said this 100 times today. Let's move on. How is Israel? What do you think needs to be done?
No, but let me answer him in this one, Michael, because he said Muslims is killing this and killing that. You know what? Just watch these prisoners who was released or hostages who was released, how nice they was treated, how good they was treated, how they was given and water. And listen, and look how they treat the Palestinian prisoners and hostages. It's, you know, you're telling me your government who's showing these TVs and these women who telling you that who was treated nicely with Hamas and they was given food and treatment. This is your government lying to you?
The government does not say that. And by the way, thank you very much, Saeed. That's so nice of you. You kidnap Holocaust survivors and little babies and kidnap women and children, and then you give them water to drink. That's really very nice.
Chaim, can you answer the question? What do you think?
Very nice of you.
Chaim, do you think that the military operation taking place in Gaza is the right thing to do, and that's going to bring a positive solution?
No, I don't think that it's enough. I think that the Arabs in Gaza have to go. I think they have to leave. I think they have to go, and they want to. And they want to. You can't have 2 million people packed into this tiny little area there. It's a very small, it's not sustainable. It's not, you can't have a community there. It's not livable. It's really, really terrible. And the only humane and moral solution, really better for the Jews and better for the Arabs and the Muslims, is to have them go to a place where they're going to live a comfortable, decent life, like Saeed is living now. Saeed, I just want your people can live a very peaceful, comfortable, beautiful life.
Why don't you ask your people to live like you?
But Saeed, you have proven, your people have proven that your people and my people cannot live together in the Holy Land.
That's a lie. That's a lie, because that's a big lie. That's a huge big lie, because if you go to Haifa, you will find that a city of harmony. You go to every Arab and Palestinian city in the occupied Palestine, you will find them living in harmony, whether they live in. But you know what's funny? So you are telling me that you gather this 2 million of Gazans so you can force them to leave, and this is your pre-plan as a Zionist to put these refugees who came from all these beautiful cities in the Mediterranean, from Ascalon to Nakura. And these people now, they are put in there because you want to force them to leave. And you think they are leaving and they are going somewhere. You know where you want to take them? You want to take them a few miles away in the Sinai Desert. That's what your ancestor and your grandfather came from. That's what you should go back to. And then you need the Ben Gurion Canal and you need all these treasures of the natural gas. That is what's your intention, and that's what you want to do. You are a colonial project. And these 5 countries who send you all these military ships and big technology of these military ships, they don't come here because you are better than me. They don't come here because of the chosen land or they want to defend the Jewish people. By the way, evangelicals who support you to create your state, by the end of the day, if you don't follow them, they want to eliminate you. And you know that. These evangelicals that you call Christian Zionists, you know that. That's in America. 120 million of them, they want to get rid of you. And you're telling me these military appearance and ships who came to Gaza to protect you from Hamas, my friend? Hamas is, you know what is Hamas headquarters? In Qatar. You know who's sitting with Hamas leader today? Your Mossad agent or UCIA. This entire group is created by you, first of all. And then all these military is not coming to protect you. They are coming to protect the treasure of the national gas under Gaza shore, and they want to open the Ben Gurion Canal. So don't act me like this is your state and this is your promised land in Khazaria. You are belong to Khazaria, you belong to Egypt. Go back to Egypt, that's where you come from. You don't belong to the land. If Abraham came from Iraq, we as Canaanite, we as Palestinian, we are as Levantines, we as Aramic existed before your entire religion ever existed.
So don't we have a common ancestor? Like, isn't Abraham the father of Jacob and Ishmael, meaning that the Arabs and the Jews are brothers?
Yeah, Abraham have two wives. One is his royal wife called Sarah. He have Isaac from him, and that's all your tribe of Jacob came from. And he have Hagar. She's an Egyptian slave, as your Torah said. And she have, what's his name? Ishmael. But who's the father? Abraham. But prior to the existence of Ishmael and Isaac, we Palestinians exist. That's why if you go check how old is Jericho, it's 9,000 years old. Who was living there?
But if still, the point is, if Ishmael is the father of the Arabs and Jacob is the father of the Jews, then we are brothers, Saeed. We should be happy.
Exactly.
We should rejoice.
We are long ancestor brothers and sisters. And Chaim, who came from Khazaria, he wanted to tell me that I don't belong there.
But hang on a minute. Do you accept me as a brother, Saeed?
Of course.
Cool. All right. Chaim,
does he accept me as a brother?
Do you accept Saeed as a brother, Chaim?
No, because Saeed is not being honest with us. He's using takia again. Michal, you are the ultimate example of a Jew that the Muslims love to have a Jew like you. You're so anxious to get the acceptance of those who want to kill you, destroy your own people.
Let's keep it important. So let's say something in the next 5 minutes that we haven't said yet. For example, do you come across any opposition by Jews, Chaim, to the things and the ideas that you say?
Of course I do, because like Jews have to wake up. There's going to be opposition. Jews are not monolithic people that believe in a monolithic religion. By the way, Saeed said that the Muslims came before the Jews.
Islam came 1400 years ago, Christianity 2200, Judaism is 35 something. That's all the entire Abrahamic religion. Palestine existed 7,000 before that.
Okay, 7,000.
So it's not about religion. Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Just tell me how is the opposition, how does it look like?
There are Jews like you. Not many Jews like you, by the way, Michael. You are really an extremist because you're calling for the destruction of the state of Israel. That's real extremism.
So I'm the only opposition to you?
That is really extreme. And believe me, more Jews agree with me than with you, Michael. That's for sure.
That's not true.
The bottom line is the bottom line is that one of us is right. One of us is right, and people have to decide. I urge people to read both the Bible and the Quran. I urge people to research everything we've said. Look and see that the Arabs were massacring Jews. The Arab Muslims were massacring Jews in Israel in the 1920s.
This country, when the Balfour Declaration was given to the Rothschild, he said, "We given you Palestine." They never told him, "We given you Israel." I'm telling you something. We are, as I told you, we are the citizen of the Holy Land. Whether I agree with you or disagree with you, whether I read your Bible or I don't, whether I agree with Amin al-Husseini or I disagree with Moshe Dayan or Ishaq Shamir. The reality is, these old people must to go and should not be in power. We need a new generation who's TikTokers and who can play against each other, and by the end of the day, they respect each other as a human. These old mentality of extreme is over. Chaim, you are out of record, my friend. This is old and no Jewish will believe in you. And if you come with us on Sunday and if he call you extreme, let me see what he call Joseph Abbasar. We have a lot of Jewish people. They are Holocaust survivors. They are looking at us as equal right. And by the way, I guarantee you, Chaim, I have more Jewish DNA in me than you. If you check my DNA, you find me more Jewish than your Ashkenaz ancestors. So if you find me have the DNA Jewish, would you accept me as your brother?
Let me just respond to you by saying, because you're talking about freedom.
DNA.
You're talking about freedom here. You don't have Jewish DNA. But let me just respond. Let me just respond to you because you talk about freedom. That's something I haven't spoken about. There are 57 Muslim countries in the world. Not one of them is free. Not one of them is democratic. All of them are brutal dictatorships that murder their own people, that steal from their own people. All 57. So we know what Islam leads to. Israel is the only free place in the Middle East, the only place where there's freedom. people out there can decide. Who do you think is on the side of freedom? The Jews in Israel or the Muslim world? 57 countries, all brutal dictatorships. Who do you really think is on the side of freedom? Who do you think which religion do you think will bring freedom? The Jewish religion that brought enlightenment and hope and morality to the world, or Islam, that where there are massacres and terrorism and hatred and genocide, even against their own people? We want one little land called Israel for ourselves. We want our own country. We don't want terrorism. We don't want people screaming and yelling death to the Jews and death and Itpach al Yahud. We don't want that. We don't want that. We don't want millions of people that are chanting that.
Okay.
We want our own country. We want our own little country where we can live in peace and develop a truly advanced, magnificent society, unlike the backward Arab Muslim countries that surround us, that are all dictatorships and that are all bent on genocide.
Okay.
If you want to read the history of any religion, read the history of how many massacres the Jews ever faced, or in the history of mankind, Palestinians and Muslims or Arabs never have anything to do with it. And if you want to read the history of us, read the history of, a human. We are a human today. We are living in the 21st century. And when people listen to you, my friend, this comes from the right, the extreme of your teaching, when I don't know which God who told you to go and kill all kids and women and cattle and destroy everybody. When you need the Torah, read the Torah who told you don't steal, don't kill, don't do this, don't do that. There is the 10 commandments. That's the Torah. That's the word of God. Whatever you learn, and it's not the word of God. God is love, not hate. Thank you.
Okay, gentlemen, I would like to thank you very much for this discussion, and I wish you a pleasant day. Thank you very much. And to our lovely viewers, thank you for watching.